Hello. Hello and welcome to TSK F1. My name's Rich and this is your watch along for free practice 2 of the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. How are we all doing? Have you missed me? It's only been a couple of hours. Hope you're doing well, guys. Are we excited? Now, look, this afternoon's session should be a lot better and more reflective. Why? Because this is the time that qualifying will take place. This is the time the race will start. So we're going to see something a lot more representative because we're going to see long runs. We're going to see qualifying runs also. So it's super, super fun and happy times this afternoon. How you doing, EJ? Hope you're doing well. Now, in between this gap, obviously, went for a bite to eat and stuff, but I've also been watching the driver press conferences from before free practice 1. And I have to say, Lewis Hamilton seems extremely dejected. I think that Mercedes fans, and generally Formula One at large, needs to get used to the idea Mercedes aren't the Mercedes that we've had the last decade. I'm not saying they won't get there, but I honestly think this season is, for want of a better term, a write-off, honestly, for them. And I think they're seeing it that way. Now, I think we're going to see an evolution. I think we're going to see large upgrades. I do think we're going to see something different from Mercedes this season, later in the season, by which time I think Red Bull will be away and down the road. I think it's going to be too much for them. But I'd love your opinions on that. Did any of you watch the driver briefings? Did you get any impressions from it? What do you think about that? Do you think Mercedes can close the gap? And Lewis Hamilton he pointed out that the Mercedes have Red Bull 1.5 seconds faster in Bahrain, and Red Bull weren't pushing. That is fairly atrocious pace, isn't it? Really, from most teams per lap, but the Red Bull. Well, Red Bull have just nailed it, haven't they? Let's be honest about it. It's time to celebrate, really, as a Red Bull fan, because I think something has to go substantially wrong now for them, and we're only one race in, which is the crazy part. I don't really want to go down that road of it's already over, and Ferrari have got a chance. Now, look, Ferrari are having their own reliability issues. They're destroying tyres. Aston Martin look like they might be right around there somewhere as well. McLaren are nowhere anymore. Who is going to challenge, or can anyone challenge the Red Bulls? I have to say, after watching that press conference, Kofi, I really don't think there's any bouncing back for them to do. I think it's possible later in the season the gap comes down, but I don't think like Lewis Hamilton didn't look like he was lying, and the reality is he's been really quite matter of fact about Mercedes issues. And I don't since it's been, shall we say, bad for them, I don't remember Lewis Hamilton saying something that turned out to be overly dramatic. I think he's been really quite honest about where Mercedes are. I think back in the day, this is where the whole sandbagging thing came from. People thought they weren't pushing as hard as they could push and so on and so forth. But while Mercedes have been struggling, I think everything he said has been fairly right on, hasn't it? I'm trying to think of when he's come out with something and it seemed like a lie or a fabrication, and I can't really think of any. He said the car was porpoising, it was porpoising. Said it handled terribly, it was handling terribly. And I respect the optimism though, for sure. I just think it's going to be a long season because I cannot think of a time in season any team has ever caught up a 1.5 second deficit. I actually can't. And this is to assume that the teams won't be upgrading themselves, you know. But I don't know. I'd love your input, guys. I'm just trying to open it with a bit of a chat for you. I have a pit lane sim place near my house. My son wants to get into it. Unfortunately, it's nothing to do with me. But we've got, how long? 10 minutes. Now, this session more importantly. Now, qualifying will be starting in 10 minutes tomorrow, basically. So this time tomorrow we'll be getting ready for qualifying. And then this time on Sunday we'll be getting ready for the Grand Prix. And that's important for this session because this is the most representative session we've got. So we're almost certainly going to see some long runs and some fast runs as well. So what we need to do, guys, is keep an eye on the timing. Don't listen to your normal commentary, and let's figure it out. We've got the data. I've got the tyre data in front of me, and let's see where we think they're at in pace, shall we? Because I might even take notes as we're going along here, so that I can be more accurate with what I think, and who I think's got pace and what I think their relative pace is. Because of course we're going to see fast laps, but as we've spoken about previously, fast laps and race pace have been very different things, haven't they, recently? Since these new regulations, it's very common to have extremely different race pace and stuff, but no, I was watching. Do you want to give me an idea, Gled? I was just talking about the drivers' press conferences and how they're going to struggle. Wolf. I'm only seeing. I'm only seeing him say something about Lewis, saying I don't expect him to leave. So I don't know. What's this? Does anyone know? I feel like I'm being teased, Glad. What's Toto been saying? What's going on? I feel lost. I'm not seeing it on my normal news outlets. He's just saying they've got it completely wrong. You know, it's... I wanted it to work because it was different. Do you see where I'm coming from? And that's why I've been really defensive of the Mercedes strategy. The same as Ferrari. It's different. So I want it to work. One minute. I'm just reading. Just reading Angela Cullen's Instagram post there real quick. So what I was hoping for, I'll be honest, what I was hoping for was a Formula One where we would have different cars And casual viewers and experienced viewers alike could look at them and go, this is a varied series, and it's very cool, you know. And I was hoping we would get that, but it just doesn't seem to be a thing. I look massive in... Why am I so big in that box? Why am I so big? I don't know why I'm so big. Let me just make myself smaller. Look, I'm in Saudi Arabia. Look, I'm in my hotel room in Saudi Arabia, overlooking the track. Look. Aspiration for the season. Well, if Red Bull is going to run away with that, I hope 2nd through 5th constructors are entertained. Hopefully, because last season, you know, the Alpine and McLaren battle was fun. It actually was. Can't change the chassis because it's not within the cost cap limit, but we can change bodywork and how the aerodynamics work. Yeah, it's you know, I've liked these regulations because of this, but I suppose this is the reality of the situation, isn't it? This is the reality of the situation. I was just thinking of how I can speak about this, and the reality of the situation is all of the teams are given a formula, right? They're given the regulations separate. Well, they're all given the same ones, and in isolation from each other, they have to come up with a vehicle to those regulations. And they have to use all of the brains, all of the technology, and all of the funds and all of the research at their disposal to come up with a vehicle that they believe will be the best for whatever reason. And look, we can say lots of things about any of the cars, but really not many of us know, because we're not aerodynamicists, or we're not aerospace engineers. And yes, I meant aerospace engineers, and you know, we're not involved in that, but we can look at it and go, them side pods are different, you know, and things like that. But every so often, you get a moment in Formula One, like Brawn with the double diffuser, you know, and different things. And just as much as Red Bull have nailed it, it could have so easily have been a Ferrari nailing it with their design, or it could have been a Mercedes nailing it with their design, you know? And this is the interesting thing. And, you know, I feel like I have to defend that a little bit, Gled, right? Because that is my personality as well. The Toto, and we know Mercedes are that way. They followed the data because it was telling us that concept was quick, but it just isn't. And that's how I am as a person as well. And maybe you guys are as well. Especially when you're working in such things, it's like I could probably make sort of a comparison between, say, designing a building or a structure and a car, right? And what in effect Mercedes have done, have gone to their softwares, their datas, and it's like someone doing that and going, this building is brilliant. Look at this building. It's incredible. It's going to stand. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to have all these offices in. It's going to be brilliant. And then because they've followed the data in the software so much, they've built it and then it just falls over. And this is what I was like explaining in testing, that it's absolutely critical for these teams to have correlation between what we see in the wind tunnel and CFD, because if they don't have that, then it doesn't matter. Like, what they're doing is useless, basically, because whatever they design, they have no guarantee it's going to do anything worthwhile. Does that make sense? So I heard McLaren, for example, McLaren's wind tunnel will be done at the midpoint of this year, right? McLaren's wind tunnel will be finished this year, but then they think it's going to take 6 months to calibrate it. And that's all to do with figuring out that they've got correlation, that they can tune in all of their data points and go, right, what we're getting in the wind tunnel is what we're going to get in real life. And it seems like, despite having some of, like, everyone will say Adrian Newey, no one's going to dismiss that he's a genius. But Elliot isn't a lead guy in Mercedes because he's an idiot. The guy is almost certainly basically a genius, and they'll have gone down a design route, they'll have had the discussions internally, they'll have done all the simulations, and it will have looked magnificent. And then, for whatever reason, they've got it to the track in real life, and they're just like, what's happened? What's happened? And whereas nearly the same situation will have gone on at Red Bull, but it's correlated. What they have decided to design, what they have gone to track with, it's done what they expected. They've got their methods and procedures working in order and correlating, It happens daily in our work. It doesn't fall over, but will be hugely over-designed or inefficient. Yeah, exactly. My only pushback is that Merck had sufficient time last season to establish the facts. When he said that they've hit their performance targets, okay, well, no, I think, again, I see where you're coming from, Philip, but what I would say is they've been very open about the fact they couldn't establish the facts, and everyone knows why they couldn't establish the facts last season. What do you think the issue was last season that Mercedes had, which stopped them properly establish the facts? What do you think it was? Because they did have an issue that stopped them getting reliable data last season. As we're seeing lots and lots of cars out, medium and hard tyres, so I'm guessing we're getting straight into long runs here. But I'll go ahead and say it. Oh, seeing Bottas into turn 1 on hard tyres. Big lock up there. He let it roll on, so it shouldn't be too bad. So the problem that Mercedes had last season was the porpoising. The porpoising. Exactly, mate. So the massive problem there is, and I've said this tons of times, I'm no aerodynamicist, but it's completely logical to look. What their issue is aero and downforce, as we see Lewis Hamilton lock up into turn 1 on the mediums also. And then George Russell, I think. So when they're trying to figure out what their aero platform is doing, instead of what you have in a wind tunnel is a perfect flat, and they can yaw the runners in there. They can yaw it, but it's flat. The airflow is perfect. In CFD, the airflow is perfect, and things like this. But then they're taking it to track, and the car's like, so they can't, I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? Because even if they're spraying Flovis all over it, and they're taking pictures, and they've got all the telemetry data, that's all well and good. But all of that data is hindered by a huge amount of bouncing. So where do you pinpoint the issue? Yuki did just brush the wall with his left rear there. So you can't pinpoint where the issue is because of the porpoising. So then you can't go back to the factory and say it is completely that's the issue, because all of the data's skewed. So when they've gone into this season and they have fixed the porpoising with some substantial suspension geometry work and rear end work, I think they've realised, because they can get the data, and admittedly, they simply see how far Red Bull are ahead, but they can get the data that they need now, that they can put it all into their systems and just go, oh no, oh poo-poo, this is not good, you know? And I think that's what's happened at Mercedes. I think they were still hopeful last season because they saw the data that showed them the performance was there. And I think that was genuine. I think they genuinely thought that. And I think we've gone into this season, they've got the data to take back to base and compare it, and it's just a big steaming pile of, you know, excrement. The sparks looking absolutely fantastic out the back of Verstappen's car there. How are you doing, Spring? Hope you're well. It's so good, isn't it? It's honestly one of my favourite circuits. It really is. I'd love to go to Formula One there. Really, really would. .8. Decent lap. Oh, no, dude. Get well soon. Just watching Lance Stroll through the final corner. Lance Stroll, incidentally, was saying he was in a lot of pain after the last race, but he's basically there now. He's basically fully fit now. Stroll within 2/10. Good run there from Stroll. Oh, Fernando. Oh, Fernando. Oh, Fernando, you are spoiling us. Oh, mate, it's loads of work, right? It's loads of work. I feel like 22-23 is going to cause issues this race, because so many are running wide and stuff. And yeah. Most people don't understand that the majority of creators do everything themselves. How you doing, Keith? Guys, we've got 46 of you watching and only 9 likes on the stream. Please hit that like button. It helps absolutely loads. Get involved in the conversation in the chat. All you have to do is close the chat, hit the like button, reopen it, and say hello. Get involved, guys. It really helps here on YouTube when people get involved and have a good chat. I was also seeing that Norris was super... Oh, the Williams... No, sorry. Yeah, that is the Williams rear wing. Is that Flovis all over the back there? The rear wing DRS flap was flapping around crazily there. Alpine looking a little bit brighter this weekend so far, which is good. They were misled to believe if they cure porpoising, they had a second in hand and hedged their bet on gaining the second, but the entire field gained the same. Well, I mean, look, it's all easy to say in hindsight, isn't it? I'm not so sure it was as simple as cure the porpoising, you'll gain a second. I think they set out with much like Aston Martin have done this season, set out with a concept and you're developing into it. You know, so even if you are off, we have this headroom in this concept. And that's what Aston Martin are doing and have said about this season's car. And I think Mercedes were in that boat as well. They, That's all you can do, and that's what I've explained, really. As a team, developing your car in isolation, all you can do is look at what the others are doing and say, well, no, in isolation, all you can do is go, we believe this is the right way forward. And yeah, you might get it wrong, you know? I applaud Mercedes and Ferrari for taking different routes, inadvertently, of course. Verstappen flying, mate. Verstappen is flying here. Holy hell. A 30.0 there. Yeah, I reported that rumour with a healthy dose of this is a rumour. I know what our issues were, should look being worked on. Good to know, good to know. Good to know. Welcome to the stream, guys. If you are new here, please do hit that subscribe button down below. Nearly at the world last corner. So what you want though, Gled, right? Not necessarily Verstappen, even though I know you're a Hammy fan, so you would. But you want that risk on a track like this, don't you? You do want that the potential of the momentary lapse of concentration, which is race ending. You know, Wall of Champions in Canada, even though I don't think we've seen it happened upon in recent years. That is one of the things about street races, isn't it? You want it. Development is knowing where you're at now. If you don't know where you're at, and this is what I was just explaining, Spring. The last season, we were specifically on about Mercedes because apparently Toto's just shared some quite strong words about where they're at. And I was saying that Mercedes, the problem was they couldn't confirm correlation because they were plagued by porpoising all season. So all of the data they had was just messed up, and they had to trust their CFD wind tunnel data that they were going the right way because their track data was horrific, right? You know, and absolute flyer. Yeah, I mean, it's quick. It's a quick one. It does look like it looking at earlier on, and now it does look like it's got half a second on everyone, basically. The Mercedes, it's the back. For me, I'm just watching Lewis Hamilton's helmet cam. For me, it's the rear of the car. And that's what I felt for quite a while. With that Mercedes, it's the rear. It looks like he's fighting the front, but I actually think it's confidence in the rear. And he's just feeling where the rear is sending him, you know, and it's just tentative. And that's giving him lots of sort of micro corrections, you know. Well, how hard is he pushing, or did he just run wide a bit? Okay, so I'm happy to be seeing Alpine up there. Look, I mean, look at Albon still up there as well. Good to see. Oh, it looked terrible, didn't it? Looked terrible. Just staring about Williams' back wing. Merc are running a titanium rear suspension legs, what have carbon around them. So like 50-50 tie carbon. That can be good, but can cause stiffness and instability in the rear. It's interesting because I seem to remember being present when such a conversation was being had, Spring. Yeah, it's just looking, to me, it's looking at how the car's behaving. And look, I know I'm not a blooming Formula One driver. I know I'm not. And I know it's only sim racing, but for me, one of the most difficult things is when you've got a lack of balance at the rear of the car and you don't know whether you're going to understeer because it's not going to rotate, or it could rotate even more and bring you around, you know? So, and again, I know it's only sim racing, but I kind of get what he's doing at what earlier on, what we were seeing from Hamilton was when he was turning into 22, is it? And he kept running wide where they've reprofiled it. He was turning in and then just having a little bobble and deciding to go straight on. And that was all rear. He didn't want it to swap ends on him, you know. Albon is flying, mate. Verstappen's in a world of his own, isn't he? It's not that bad behind Verstappen. But Verstappen is in a world of his own right now. He actually is. That's insane. What was I doing? Oh, we're really close to 1,100 followers, guys. Please do hit that subscribe button down below. I meant subscribers. Just looking at Williams and what they're doing with their rear wing. They're just wiping all the Flovis off it. I was reading that Flovis, they spray it on, but it's actually quite, is the word viscous. It's like oil-based, I think. So it's quite thick as a liquid. Like paint almost, yeah. Already in the 29s on mediums. Yep. I expected this lap to be a touch slower because they've changed corner 22, but I'm excited for qualifying in the race, but I think the race is going to be behind the Red Bulls, isn't it? I think we might see. It's going to be good. If we get something like this, it's going to be good. I feel like Ferrari are struggling. I mean, look at where the Mercedes are. Everyone's basically just done the same runs. I mean, for me, it's good. I'm not going to lie. Apart from Red Bull being that far in the lead, I think most people would be like, that's brilliant. Aston Martin, Alpine up there? What's that about? You know, a Williams? I think if you take Red Bull out of that equation, a lot of people would be like, this is crazy. This is brilliant. I think maybe I'm alone in that. And I'm only saying that because Red Bull are, you know, champions and they're always up there. I'm not being anti-Red Bull. I'm just saying, as a Formula One fan, you'd look at it and go, Aston Martin, Alpine, Williams, up in the top 5 on pace. I think loads would love that if that was a thing. So Alonso, Leclerc and Sainz, Sargent and Bottas out on brand new softs. So I think we're going to see, how long have we got left? 40 minutes. We're going to see some quick runs now. Then we might see long runs and then maybe another quick run. It was, Keith. Really dialed in off the bat. I think it comes from their understanding the car last year and can almost carbon copy. Yeah. I reckon so. Yeah, Alonso, 2 purple sectors. He is indeed flying. Because he's on fresh softs, but we're seeing lots out on fresh softs now. Sargent is also apparently track limits as I was looking at the I think he totally backed out of it, didn't he? No? Oof. Yeah, I think as I looked up at the yeah, he bailed out of it actually, didn't he? That was intelligent. That could have been. I think that's like an experience thing, isn't it? Because he turned in, realised where he was at, and just turned out of it. Didn't lock up, didn't do anything silly, saved the tyres relatively. Yeah. Perez not all that quick. Gasly out on softs. Albon out on softs now as well. Verstappen also. Very busy out on track now. You can see on the track map. Very busy. Yeah. Perez goes fastest there with a 29.9. It's a bit crazy that he's only gone half a tenth faster than Verstappen. Verstappen is like Verstappen's now on a lap somewhere. I'm wondering how long it'll be before people turn on Max Verstappen. It always happens. It always happens. At first, people love success of a new person. I'm thinking next season, if he wins this title and he's going to win next season, I think towards the end of next season, people will really start to turn on him. Because it always happens. Russell on green sectors. Oh, yellow flag. Yellow flag's in chat. Don't know who stopped. Still yellow flag. Oof. I'm not seeing. I didn't see anything on my... Did anyone see anything there? Ferrari, I mean, that was there we go. It's Alonso. Oh! Oh, wow. So that was Alonso flying up behind. It was Sainz, wasn't it? Wow. There could be, but you start to see stuff pretty representative at this point, Spring. You do, you know, when they're all doing their quali runs in practice in the same session as qualifying, you start to see a bit of representation. Not 1.1 seconds off on a different thing. In my opinion, you don't go 1.1 seconds different program, I don't think. Or they literally have turned everything down because of reliability. We know they're struggling, maybe they've turned everything down. Ocon's on fresh softs. Gasly green first sector. Hulkenberg up to fourth. So, Alonso within a tenth of the Red Bulls. We can only dream someone's going to be within a tenth of the Red Bulls. Gasly up to fourth. Hamilton's nowhere. Hamilton's nowhere. I wonder if they've made a change. You know what, as well? I just looked down to the bottom. Look at McLaren. I mean, someone has to be down there, but what's going on at McLaren? I was listening to the driver brief, the driver press conference before this stream, and Lando Norris was really, really confident about strong points this weekend. They just seem miles off. No, soft tyres, Keith. Unless they're doing 2 warm-up laps, but they're on soft tyres, look. It says it on the live timing and the tyre data. Okay, so Piastri and Norris are doing green sectors now. Hulkenberg in fourth is mad. Where's that come from? I think this is going to be have this, boys. Such a good circuit. Driving on board with them. Yeah, I think they've just done 2 warm-up laps because Norris has just gone up to 9th on his 4th lap on the softs, which is a bit odd. Another 3 tenths up from Verstappen. Verstappen goes 3 tenths faster. Okay, you've seen Alonso come out on a set of same age, really, as what Verstappen's tyres are. I think we're going to see them all go in for... We've got 30 minutes left. I think we're about to see long runs. Leclerc up to 6th. Yeah, it's a big lap, wasn't it, Glad? Gasly improving in his middle sector. Don't know if he'll move up. Where is he? That's come over the line. Sainz up to 8th. Oh, the Ferrari's nowhere. Gasly up to 4th. Ocon improving also. Stroll's improving. Perez improving. Albon improving as well. Stroll with 2 green sectors now. Stroll should be over the line any second. Alonso goes 2nd now, 0.2 off on scrubbed soft tyres. Stroll goes up to 4th place now. I was just about to say, it could be a good battle between Stroll and the Alpines, you know, because I expect Ocon can go... I reckon Ocon can go basically as fast as Gasly. I mean, there's 0.2 there, but he had a bad middle sector. Red Bull look insane, don't they? I love the circuit. I think generally in chat people have said how much they love the circuit. It's in the hunt, but I still think the Red Bull is a class above, aren't they? I think there's still a class above. Please do make sure you're smashing the like on the stream, guys, and hit that subscribe button down below. We just need 3 more, and we're at 1,100 subscribers, so please do hit that subscribe button. Russell up to 4th. Okay. Bit of something there. And Hamilton fans, he's doing a personal best first sector, which is 4/10 down on what Russell did in the first sector. I feel like they've gone in a direction with Hamilton's car this session, which just isn't working, frankly, because never is he 0.4 of a second in one sector slower than Russell. He just isn't. So, no, everyone hated Michael Schumacher, Philip. I just seen that. Yeah, agree with John. I was one of the only people that loved him. Yeah, I think we'll see that they tried something with Hamilton's car this session and it hasn't worked, genuinely. Well, it's all chilling out. Everyone's in the pits now, pretty much. I think we're going to see long run pace now. This is where we're going to have to keep our eyes peeled. Yeah, Russell lost the... I mean, I think he's complaining, but he lost the rear into turn 1. That's what I put my money on, the issue being now at Mercedes. I don't think either of the drivers have any confidence at all in the rear of that car. Looking at both of them and how they're driving it, I just think they don't know where they're at. Russell's saying they need to make some big changes. That's where I'm at, and I think that runs through from testing as well. So, are you still there, Spring? I'm so, do you know, or is it outside of your area? Why would a team like Mercedes decide on a 50-50 carbon titanium suspension arm rather than, because you can do full carbon, right? Why would they decide to do that? Because it's like carbon wrapped, isn't it? Carbon wrapped titanium. Ocon P4, yep. Saw that come in. I did say that he could go as fast as Gasly, and he's just 600th. Could it be weight related? Well, I'd have guessed full carbon would have been lighter though, Keith, and as evidenced by the Mercedes peeling off all the paint, they need the weight saving. Full carbon is popular option. It works by having an end fitting and carbon tube in the middle. Unless, maybe, I mean, I don't know, maybe they were using carbon arms last year and that's why they had the porpoising, or a reason why, because they couldn't stiffen up the ride enough. I don't know. Maybe, no problem, dude. Maybe the rear of the car just isn't as compliant now because they've had to go stiffer with it. Alpine faster than... look, I mean, you were in for testing and I was positive, mainly because of the noises coming out of Alpine, that Alpine have got something this season. Are they going to be Aston Martin in terms of something? Well, I would say they're not a million miles away. Because I do have a soft spot for Alpine, but look, is Fernando Alonso... I think, look, let's have a little chat poll here. You guys can answer. Is Fernando Alonso 0.2 of a second faster than Ocon, Gasly and Stroll? What do you think? Like, not these times, but generally as a driver, would you say he's 0.2 faster? You know? And that's, you know, would you call that the Alonso factor? Because Ocon and Gasly, I couldn't split them, you know. One of the things can be geometry. The carbon has to be thicker overall and can limit aero. Thai carbon is stronger and Merc have run it for a little bit now, but it allows them to clean up aero. Right. Yeah, because obviously the arms are used as aero elements now as well, aren't they? Like a secondary effect. Yeah, Max is on 5-lap-old softs. Alonso's on 5-lap-old mediums. Thanks a lot for hanging out this evening, guys. I realise it's basically tea time in the UK, but 20 minutes ago. I will be live tomorrow at about 1:15 for free practice 3, and then at about 4:45 for qualifying. Are the Alpines looking as stiff? No. Actually, you've got a good point. They looked They looked Mercedes of last year stiff. Take away the porpoising. Last race, Alpine looked incredibly stiff. Like they just did. It didn't look a nice place to be in one of them Alpines last race. And it just doesn't look that stiff this race, which is a decent observation. Run the whole race on one set of softs, probably. Ride height and floor design. You can run stiffer and closer to the floor bounce and run softer and higher, making it harder to drive. Yeah, fair play. I just was wondering if there was any... I was going to say a word, but I won't. Like, any... like bending. And when I say bending, I don't really mean that. I know there's an engineering word for it, but... Christ. Running a V8? I'd need to sell my house. Deflection, yeah. Members can twist or deflect under load. Can they indeed? No one wants the member to twist or deflect under load. No one wants that. So we've got... well, they've not done what I thought they'd do. Sargent and Williams, yeah. Yeah, I think so. I just couldn't believe how much titanium's used. It's mad. Hey. I was just about to say something. I'm not going to. Sergeant. This is a really close... It is close, this, isn't it? Like, really, if you take out Verstappen, it's a second between 2nd and 16th. It's very close. Verstappen's just a bit of a freak, isn't he? In a nice way. Just one moment. I'm just listening to news on Mercedes. Leclerc with issues. Clutch paddle. Basically, Sam Collins is basically making the point that... Oh, 1 minute. Mercedes reliability worry with the power unit. This is what Sam Collins is saying now, and he's going to try and grab a word with him, that Toto Wolff never ever comes onto the pit wall, and now he's stood watching the cars go past, like really intently. He's looking at something. And he's going to try and grab him now. 1 moment. He didn't really give anything away. He was just saying he was having a look at the cars instead of staring at the screens. That he had a good look lap from Russell, but they're still far away from the Red Bulls. So interesting. I just think, like I was saying at the beginning of this stream, I think Mercedes fans are just going to have to get used to the fact that for at least, I'd say, the medium term of this season, I think if they get, frankly, even if Mercedes get a podium, it's going to require retirements ahead, I think, or serious mess-ups. Because I think you've got both Red Bulls, probably the Aston Martins, maybe an Alpine, Ferrari. I don't know what's going on with them today. You know, I just don't... You know, it's... I just really think Mercedes, I think they've got enough data now that they struggled with getting last season, and they just know now. They just know now they're nowhere near. You think they can get second row? Yeah. I think so. I think so. I think you could get Verstappen, Perez, Alonso, Ocon. I think you could get that. I think you could get that. Ferrari may have tuned the engines down. Yeah, maybe, but the guy from the tech review says that probably isn't the case since the reliability isn't related to how high the engine is run. Yeah, it's... Maybe they're just not performant here. I mean, look, if Ferrari... I'd be expecting to see more from them at this point. We're seeing pace from Red Bull, Aston Martin, Alpine. There's a Mercedes in there. I'd be expecting... Like, it's highly unusual for Ferrari not to be up there, isn't it? I don't think they're playing any kind of game. I just don't think they're very performant in Jeddah, honestly. Which, I'll take it because it's just different, innit? If for me, I'd like it to be the Red Bulls because they seem to have the pace to walk away with it. But, you know, if it brings Alpine into the mix because Ferrari have lost a bit, fine. Let's have a mix-up. I like that. Is that porpoising on that Alpine? No, I think it's just the rebound and everything after he's dinked it. The secret's out. The secret's out. So, radio? Something's wrong with the downshifts on Verstappen's car. The last corner is really bad on the downshifts for Max. Well, I'm glad you told me, because I got to be a nerd for a day, so. Well, he's not there, is he? He's not there. Is it here? Where do you think he works? So, let's have a look. No one's updating me on this long run pace. Right. Alonso's doing 35 zeros. Perez is doing 35 ones. Ocon's doing 35 ones. Leclerc's doing 35 sixes, the same as Sainz. Ugh. Hamilton is just out. It's difficult to quantify what Verstappen's doing because he's on old softs. Ocon's pace is right there with Alonso and Perez. Really? Gasless softs. How old are they? They're nearly as old as Max is. Just not in this stint. $35.2 for Russell on 6-lap old mediums. 0.6 of a second faster than Ocon, but he might have had traffic. Perez with a 34.9 on 8-lap old ones. It's really difficult because there's so much traffic. Look at the track map. It's mad. Yeah, but it's difficult, Pascal. Before that. It was like a 38. So it's you know. It's not a sustained lap time. Yeah. Oh, big moment there for Leclerc into turn 1, I think. It's very hard to tell here. Oh, that was a big moment. Turn 3, yeah. It looked like turn 1 as I instantly saw it. So the softs, looking at these the softs on the mediums, they look like the Perez on the same age of tyres as Alonso is going 0.6 of a second faster. So I don't see Alonso fighting with them. But interestingly, Ocon isn't a million miles away from the pace of Alonso. And Gasly, his tyres, I know what it says, are only a lap newer overall, and he's running a tenth faster than Verstappen right now. Now, no, I'm not saying... Well, actually, Ocon is also running faster than Max right now. Oh, dude, I try, but I'm not begging people. My morning shows are getting more likes on them. I don't really understand what's happened. People haven't hit like. I don't know. Gasly is running genuinely quickly. 0.5 of a second faster than Verstappen that lap. I know Verstappen's into lap 11 of this run and Gasly's in lap 7 of his run, but Gasly's tyres overall, they're both scrubs, but his tyres overall are only 1 lap newer. I know it makes a difference, but still, the Alpines are running very, very nicely. So that's my interesting takeaway here. The Red Bulls are clear. The Red Bulls are clear. But I think we might see an Alpine versus Alonso race with Stroll just behind them. Russell is miles off. Russell is miles off. How old are those tyres? 14 laps. Let's wait for another lap from Russell in case he hit traffic there. I think it was just that lap. Basically. I mean, look, I'm just trying to interpret what I'm seeing because there's a lot of traffic. Okay, that was more representative there from Russell. I think he must have had a lot of traffic that lap. But wait for Hamilton to do a lap here. Hamilton's nowhere. I think they've got something fundamentally wrong with Hamilton in this setup. He's nowhere. Well, we'll see. He did a 38, Pascal. I was watching it like a hawk. So Russell is about on Alonso's pace, but his tyres are newer by a few laps. We've got a lot quite close. We've got a lot quite close, you know. I think we might be seeing something from Alpine come Sunday, though. I think we could be looking at Verstappen, Perez, Alonso, and then the 2 Alpines. But I don't think the Mercedes are going to be battling. I think they'll drop back. Hulkenberg's not very fast on race pace. Leclerc and Russell are comparable on lap times. What are you reading, Pascal? Every lap time you've put in the chat has been, I think, really quite old. Interesting, though. I really don't think Ferrari have any pace. Hamilton's nowhere. He did a 34.9 there. Who, me or Pascal? Well, there we are. I think we're going to see Red Bulls. Yeah, maybe. So there we are. Free practice 2. Wait. Have you actually seen him say that? Because I see a quote in front of me that says, I don't think Lewis will leave Mercedes. We have no reason to doubt each other. So, there we go. Free practice 2 is done and in the books. Verstappen, Alonso, Perez, Ocon, Russell, Gasly, Stroll, Hulkenberg, Leclerc, Sainz, Hamilton, Norris, Tsunoda, Albon, Magnussen, Zhou, De Vries, Sargent, Piastri, and Bottas. I think we're going to see Red Bulls, Alonso, and the Alpines tomorrow. I think that's what we'll get. Don't know. Alfa Romeo. I think in 2 years, if they can't give him the car, he retires. I don't know where he'd go. I don't think he'd want to. Well, there we are then, guys. That is the end of Free Practice 2. I will be live tomorrow at about 1:15 for Free Practice 3 and then at 4:45 for qualifying. So, yeah, thanks a lot for joining me, guys. I'm going to go and eat, and then I'm going to be streaming on Pit Lanes in about 2 hours. So thanks a lot for joining me, and I will see you very, very soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.